Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bridge Debates. The Bridge Debates is an activity from ISIC, the Interexistential Services for the Internationalization of Conscienciology. And today we are going to debate a very interesting subject. We are going to debate on synchronicity and seriexology. So, first of all, everything that we are going to discuss, we always remind people about the principle of disbelief. Do not believe in anything, make your own experiments, and have your own experiences. So critical thinking is always important. Today we are hosting three guests that we have from Consecutivos, which is a conscienciocentric institution specialized in the studies, research, and development of Seriexology, which is a subspecialty of the science conscienciology. But first of all, hosts today, it's me, Liliana Alexander, and my colleague, Adina Oprea. And we are very happy that this first Bridge Debates is one totally dedicated to our friends in Romania. So, hi, Adina. Let me just introduce her for you.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, bună ziua, bună seara.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Adina Oprea was born in Romania and currently lives in Bucharest. She studied modern languages and literature. She worked in the aviation industry for many years, and she is currently retired. So she came across conscienciology in 2017, and she's a Penta practitioner since 2020. She became a volunteer with Isaac in 2021 and with Reaprendencia, which is another conscienciocentric institution, in 2022. So Adina is a translator from English and Portuguese into Romanian, and as such, she is also a reviser of several conscienciology books and articles. And so she is here today, and she's going to translate into Romanian some things, but we will make sure that afterwards we are going to have subtitles for everything that is spoken today in English. We will have subtitles in Romanian, right? So Agina will introduce you our guests.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. First of all, I would like to bring my gratitude to our guests for being here today. It is an honor for me to have them here in this debate that is especially dedicated to Romanian public interested in conscienciology. And their presence here is very valuable for us and very important for many reasons. First of all, because our guests are experienced teachers, researchers, writers. For instance, Zephyrus, right, is a very much loved and read book in Romania. We have it translated into Romanian. And it is also a very important moment because our guests are long-time volunteers in conscienciology. They are lectors of some courses attended by Romanian people. And I would dare to say that first and foremost, their presence here as conscienciological researchers focused on the study of seriexology can be a trigger that stimulates people's retrocognitions and consequently their attention and concentration to the study of their own consciousness in an integral way. Now I will switch to Romanian and I will translate what I have already said in English. And then I will continue presenting our guests' mini biographies, but only in Romanian. Aș dori să aduc recunoștința mea invitațiilor noștri și să le mulțumesc pentru că sunt astăzi aici. Este o onoare pentru mine, pentru noi să îi avem aici în această dezbatere care este special dedicată publicului din România interesat în conștientologie. Prezența lor aici este foarte valoroasă și importantă pentru noi deoarece toți sunt profesori și cercetători cu experiență, autori de cărți. Este important de asemenea pentru că sunt de mult timp voluntari în conștientologie și lectori ai cursurilor la care studenți din România au participat și aș îndrăzni chiar să spun că prezența lor aici în calitate de cercetători axați pe studiul seriexologiei poate avea efect retrocognitiv, poate stimula retrocognițiile oamenilor și aducerea aminte a unor episoade din viețile anterioare și în consecință le poate mări interesul pentru conștientologie și le poate ghida și concentra atenția către studiul propriei conștiințe. Dar haideți să îi cunoaștem pe invitații noștri. Îi voi prezenta în ordine alfabetică. Let's start with our guests. Deborah Klippel. Hi, Deborah. It's very nice to see you here. Thank you very much.
Hi, Adina. Hi, Liliana. Very nice to be here with all of you.
Thank you. Deborah Klippel s-a născut la Rio de Janeiro, Brazilia și în prezent locuiește la Foz do Iguaçu, statul Paraná, Brazilia. Este designer specializat în programare vizuală, este voluntară în conștientologie din 2013, profesoară și practicantă Penta din 2014. Este autoarea și ilustratoarea cărților Micul cercetător, Multidimensionalitatea în 2017 și Micul cercetător, Amintiri din viețile trecute. Temele sale de cercetare sunt parapsihismul și holomemoria. Este în prezent voluntară și profesoară la instituția conștientocentrică Consecutivus și la Uniescon, instituție conștientocentrică din care fac parte toți autorii care au publicat cărți de conștientologie. Cel de-al doilea invitat, our second guest, is Mabel Teles. Hello, Mabel.
Hi,
We are
Adina.
very
happy to be here with you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for being here. Mabel s-a născut la Sao Paulo și în prezent locuiește în Foz do Iguaçu, Brazilia. Este profesoară, absolventă de comunicare socială, cu master în administrarea afacerilor. S-a întâlnit cu conștientologia în 1993 și este profesor și cercetător din 1994. Este autoarea a 2 cărți, Profilaxia manipulărilor conștiențiale și Zephirus, paraidentitatea intermisivă a lui Valdo Vieira. Este în prezent voluntară a Uniescon și Consecutivus și Epicon la această instituție conștientocentrică. And Weber Takaki. Hello, Weber. Thank you for joining us. Very nice to see you.
Thank you, Adina. Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you.
Weber Takaki s-a născut în Brazilia, capitala Braziliei, și acum locuiește de asemenea în Foz do Iguaçu, statul Paraná, Brazilia. Este analist și cercetător IT, absolvent în procesarea datelor și are master în inginerie electrică și computere și doctorat în științe chirurgicale. Este voluntar în conștientologie din 2000 și profesor de conștientologie din 2001. Este practicant Penta din 2004 și în prezent este voluntar și profesor la instituția conștientocentrică Consecutivus. And Liliana Alexander, thank you Liliana for being here and thank you for everything. Liliana Alexander a studiat filozofia la Universitatea Clasică din Lisabona și în prezent este traducătoare și profesoară de engleză. Este voluntară în conștientologie din 1996 și a făcut voluntariat la Lisabona, în Portugalia, între 1996 și 2000 și la Londra, Marea Britanie, între 2001 și 2014 și în prezent se află la Foz do Iguaçu și este voluntară atât la Isaac cât și la alte instituții conștientocentrice. Este profesoară de conștientologie din 1998, este consilier ICNEO pentru echipa de engleză și portugheză și, așa cum cred că știți cei mai mulți dintre voi, este cea mai înfocată susținătoare a României. I would also like to tell you that this activity will be later subtitled in Romanian so that the available information that our guest will give here about Seriexology and Synchronicity can also be reached by Romanians interested in conscienciology that don't speak English. Aș dori de asemenea să spun că această activitate va fi ulterior subtitrată în limba română pentru ca informațiile pe care oaspeții noștri de astăzi le vor da despre seriexologie și sincronicitate să poată ajunge și la românii interesați de conștientologie care nu vorbesc limba engleză. And now, if Liliana doesn't have anything else to add, dear guests, the microphone is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina. Thank you, Liliana. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon for those who are in the Americas. I will start by making a brief introduction of Seriexology. I will try to share with you some ideas and some concepts just to establish a common ground, a common vocabulary, so we can later on talk a little bit more about synchronicity and, you know, our own experiences in terms of the seriexological research and self-research. Okay, so if we can just move on to the next slide, please. So what does existential seriality mean? We're trying to establish the scope here of what seriexology and existential seriality means and how we approach this this concept and this idea. I put the formal definition. I try to put the formal definition in the slides just to you know, give more precise concepts, but we're actually going to talk about the concepts and try to explain them you know, more you know, didactically. So existential seriality, or Seriex, is the multidimensional and multi-existential process by which a consciousness evolves in a series of human, let's say, intraphysical lives, alternated with extraphysical periods in a cyclic way. So there's a lot of concepts here in this definition, but I would like to highlight two definitions, and if we move forward, they are going to be highlighted. So multidimensional and multi-existential process. one of the pillars, actually two of the pillars of the conscienciologies and consciential paradigm are multidimensionality and multi-existentiality. Multidimensional meaning that we as consciousness may express ourselves and manifest ourselves in different dimensions in this intraphysical or human life that we are in this very moment. We are in the intraphysical dimension. But once we pass through and we experience and undergo the biological death or biological deactivation of our body, we enter this extra physical period. And then later on, we can regain and we can reactivate a new soma, a new body, a new human body, and become again an intraphysical being. So multidimensional and multi-existential process, they are actually both depend on each other, right? So multi-existentiality is this process of having consecutive and a series of actual human lives in our history, in our evolutionary process. So this process of, evolution and Seriexology and conscienciology in general is very concerned about evolution, the evolution of the consciousness. So this process of evolution, it involves and it encompasses these two periods, and they alternate between human lives and extra-physical lives. So it's a cyclic process. So everything that is related to this process and how this affects our consciousnesses and how we behave and how we manifest ourselves is actually interests of the Seriexology. So Seriexology is the study and the specialty in conscienciology that is focused on the study of Seriexes or the existential seriality. So in other terms, if you can move forward to the next slide, in practical terms, what we manifest now in this present life is the synthesis of all our experiences in this and in past existences. So this idea of past lives that we're trying to express here. And multi-existentiality also means that we will continue having future experiences after the biological death of our body. So the consciousness remains, even though the body reaches its final, point. And whether in the extra-physical dimension or again in the physical dimension, but with a new body and likely a new family. So this is what multi-existentiality means. And it's important to emphasize this, that we are not only focused in the past. We are studying the past to understand what is actually happening with us in the present and to better lead and better direct our future. So we are actually moving to looking to the past, but thinking of the future and how we deal and how we sort of control our future is actually acting in the present.
I think one point here, Weber, it's nice to highlight is we are focused on evolutionary process, right?
That's
so
right.
All that we are looking back is to looking forward of our evolutionary process. So I think now in this life we have the best performance of all the past lives, right? So now it's our best way of showing ourselves. So we are the synthesis, but we are all now in the best performance. So I think that's a very important point, because otherwise you get stuck in the past looking for a better performance. So no, now after playing and living all these lives, we are now on our best.
In our best version, right?
Yeah.
We hope
It's our
so.
best version.
We hope so. Yeah.
Hope so.
Actually, we are actually making our best efforts to make this our best version, right?
To make it count, to make this life count.
It's a very important idea that Deborah is bringing to us. We're not looking to the past in a sort of trying to escape the present, trying to escape our life, all the problems we may have in this present life. We're trying to understand what are the variables and what are the, aspects, pressures that we have in this present moment, to understand them better and reach, the focal and the right point to switch to a better manifestation, to a better expression, and to overcome any difficulties we have, and actually to expand our discernment, our cosmoethics, and our manifestation in a evolutionary way. Okay, next slide, please. So what is CMP and what is CMG, and what is the relationships between the two cycles? When we think of seriality, all the set of all our existences, of all our experiences in the past, we can decompose, actually subdivide these processes in cycles, which are called CMP, that stands for personal multi-existential cycle. And also here is the formal definition of a personal multi-existential cycle. But on the next slide, I will read the formal definition first, and then on the next slide, I think you're going to understand better what these words actually are trying to mean and to express. So the personal multi-existential cycle is the time lapse during which the sequence of succeeding events and phenomena of the multisomatic or multi-body, multimillenary, and continuously alternating system, what we called before Seriexis. So it's the time lapse during which this process completes, encompassing a period that starts with the intraphysical rebirth of the extraphysical consciousness in the human life, and another period following the somatic deactivation, when the intraphysical consciousness returns to the extraphysical dimension. So if we move to the next slide, I think the graphics...
I think that's something that is interesting for us to think about. We are extraphysical consciousness,
that's right,
having an intraphysical period.
That's right.
Not
that's
the
right.
other way around.
Yeah. And I also try to express this in this graphic because I put extraphysical period on the left, thinking that we start from left to right. So we are actually extraphysical, as Diana just mentioned. We are extraphysical beings, extraphysical consciousness. They are temporarily behaving, temporarily manifesting ourselves in a physical way. So the personal multi-existential cycle is this subdivision, this part of the whole Seriexis that starts with the resoma, or the reactivation of the soma, and it's the starting point in this human life, right? So the resoma starts one new cycle, one personal multi-existential cycle, and throughout the life, our human life, we go, we have the experiences and so on and so forth. Then we reach the final time in our intraphysical life that we actually deactivate the soma. We undergo our physical and bodily death, which we say desoma. We call it desoma, or deactivation of the soma, and then we go back to the extraphysical period, and then before regaining a new soma, we close this cycle, this personal multi-existential cycle. So the idea is very simple, that when we talk about personal multi-existential cycle, we're talking about one intraphysical period followed by an extraphysical period. Okay, so this is the cycle that we are involved in our Seriexis. Eventually, when we are in the extraphysical period, which is also called intermissive period or intermission, because it's the time between one intraphysical mission and another
between two missions.
Between two missions, that's right. We may have the opportunity to attend a course, which is called intermissive course. In this course, we can review our recent and maybe remote activities, remote tasks that we've been doing, and relations that we've been doing, trying to understand what was good and what was bad, what was wrong and what was right, and to in this intermissive course to practice, to expand our success, to expand things that we've done right, and to avoid the mistakes that we've done. Okay, basically, very basic idea. And the CMG, or the group multi-existential cycle, is actually derived from the CMP concept, and is related to the intervening aspects that influence the CMPs of the members of a group. We as a group, we have this sort of attraction, right? Every member of the group, because of the relations we have, because of the bonds that we make and we build throughout our evolutionary process, we sort of, attract each other. So it's an idea that, of course, that the group multi-existential cycle is much more complex than the single personal multi-existential cycle, because it involves many different consciousnesses. So, but the same idea that as individuals we have a personal cycle, the groups also have sort of cycles that go from extraphysical and intraphysical periods. And actually, how long a CMP, or a personal multi-existential cycle, lasts depends on many factors, but the group is generally the dominant variable. So in one of the criteria that actually defines the times and how long we stay in the extraphysical world, in the extraphysical dimension and interphysical dimension, is related to the group. Because of these bonds, because of these relations that we have, the group attracts, and because we have debts to pay, and adjustments to make with our relations from the past, we are most of the times attracted, and the group itself, the possibility of re-encountering or meeting again people from our past, is one of the main variables that actually defines how long we stay in the extraphysical and interphysical world.
And we also
dimension.
evolve in a group, right? With of
Yes.
course, each one of us has to go to their own path, but we all evolve in a group and as a group as well.
Yeah, that's right. Another criteria in terms of how long we stay, how long lasts each of these periods in our personal multi-existential cycle, are complementariness and activity. Complementariness meaning that for any reason, the life of one individual is shortened by some accident or something like that. So this consciousness didn't have enough time to complete the existential program, to complete the task, to complete the mission. So this consciousness gains an extra time, of course, in a different body, with a new body, but just to complement or to finish the unfinished businesses,
the unfinished business
projects that the consciousness was actually responsible or involved somehow. And the activity criteria is for those consciousness that are more like they're already engaged in the multidimensional interassistential process, and they're already in a leadership position, and the times and the periods that they have to establish their personal multi-existential cycle are much more related and depends more on the activity, on the interexistential activity they are involved, because their leadership position, they are actually have this have to deal with these variables and aspects, and thinking always which is best for the interexistential task. So somehow it's more it gives us this consciousness more freedom, but at the same time more responsibility.
Yeah, I think the point to tell here is we are talking, explain this kind of subject that is very important to study Seriexology, because it's very important for us to try to understand where we are as a personal and as a group. So since we understand all these subjects, we are starting to making self-research. That's the main point here. So we are trying to find where we are now on activity. Maybe we don't know. So that's why we show all these subjects right now. So we are talking about self-research, right?
Yeah, and actually, these ideas can also work as a reference or as future or immediate targets or goals of ourselves, right?
Yes.
So that's very well said, Deborah. It's important to remember that. So what are the most important methods to be used in Seriexological research? When we talk about Seriexological research, we are mostly concerned about the self-research, Seriexological self-research. Of course, that we can study the Syriexes or the biographies or past lives of the third person, someone else. But what actually helps more in our evolutionary process is to focus on self-research. So in this aspect, self-research in general is the first topic and the first way and method of doing Seriexological research. So it's good for us to know ourselves in terms of our traits, our strong traits, our weak traits, what actually motivates us, drives us to action, to involvement in projects, and so on. Also, retrocognitions and parapsychic experiences. This is a very important a tool for our Seriexological research. We rely on very much on retrocognitions, and these retrocognitions can have different forms. Let's say it can be through a clairvoyance, for instance, through a projection, an extraphysical projection, when we, for instance, go to sleep and then we have an extraphysical experience, and then can have that retrocognition during the extraphysical experience, the projection, right? Mnemonic flashes, also the topic of this debate, which is synchronicity, is also very important variable, very important aspect of our research. Group karmic research, because we have to understand by studying our group and the relations that we have, the involvements that we have with different groups, it helps us understand us, and our bonds in the past. Paragenetics and temperament. Paragenetics, meaning that genetics is the inheritance that we receive from our parents, but the paragenetics is the self-inheritance, or the inheritance that we get from ourselves, from our past lives, and from our experiences in the past. And temperament is how we deal with the stimuli that we have, how we respond to all the situations. Is the somehow the basic behavior of ourselves. And in Seriexological terms, we consider temperament as one of the most stable characteristic of our personality. So
one of the most difficult to change, right?
And the most difficult to change, that's right. So it's important to understand and to research our temperament. Field research, we are talking a little bit earlier in the backstage. Field research is also a very important thing, and we want to bring the concept of retroform. We'll explain a little bit later, but the idea is that we may have accumulated experiences in the past in certain locations, certain country and culture, and it actually works as a kind of a mold or form. When we get in touch with that culture and that place again, we sort of,
it reactivates everything, right? And sometimes even you start recovering information from past lives in that culture is possible, right?
It can trigger memories, retrocognitions, and other mnemonic flashes and stuff like that.
If anyone has any question, I would just if something is not clear, or if anyone has any question, please feel free, okay?
Yeah, please. And the Seriexological comparison is when, for instance, we have a focal personality we want to study, and we establish the hypothesis of that person being someone related to us in the past. For instance, we were in the past related to that person, or we are actually studying that personality just to check if we were that personality in the past. So Seriexological comparison is very important. But we compare all these based on all these other variables and aspects that we enumerated in the previous topics that we mentioned. Temperament, paragenetics, group karmic, self-research, strong traits, weak traits. So we compare all these aspects of ourselves and the other personality, and then if it matches, then we have a strong hypothesis or a stronger hypothesis.
And Consecutivos has a special activity, which is the School of Consecutive Personality. It's not yet in English, but we keep waiting. It will be very helpful because each teacher brings one very specific technique depending on their own self-research. And this is very rich for that reason, because you learn many techniques to be able to develop your self-research in seriexological terms.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So I just want to move forward to the next slides. I will just bring some concepts. I promise I'll finish soon so I can hand over to Deborah and to Mabel. So how to approach the study of a personality, we just mentioned briefly. We first, through the study of history and self-research and stuff like that, we established a focal point of study, which is a person that represents a period in history and the Holocene, right? So we call this personality a key personality. It doesn't mean that we are studying this personality as if we were that personality in the past, but that personality represents a group, represents maybe activity in a period in time in history. And why is that? Because most of the times these usually they are leaders, right? But not because we think we are that person, but because history has registered and recorded more of that personality than of others, like unknown people that are surrounding that personality. That's the only reason, of course, not the only, but one of the main reasons that we pick one key personality to study, just because we can get more information about that personality. if that person was someone that was somehow recorded and registered by history.
And going through the key personality, we can go like in layers, trying to find the specific personality, right? So starting with a key personality, like reading a biography or something like that, we find other personalities, other characters, not so important historically, but that probably we were attached by the same Holocene and the same interests. So then we can start trying to find a specific personality, right?
That's right. That's right.
And much of the synchronicities that we're gonna talk today is related to key personality or specific personality. We're gonna talk about it.
So the specific personality then is the individual with greater level of converging characteristics, and when we do that comparison in terms of temperament, interests, relations, and stuff like that, and etc. Okay, next slide, please. I think just to finish, how to prioritize research considering various interests. For instance, we may have different interests and different affinities with different periods in history and locations and countries and societies. So where should we start? What should be our focal point? So one option, a suggestion, if you can say so, is the critical retro life. This is particularly one of the topics that I have that I'm interested in, which is a past human existence that represents a cosmoethical turning point in one's evolutionary process, therefore being a milestone in the Seriexis. So once in our past we decided or we made a decision or we took some action that was actually cosmetically good, and it was important in our history, in our evolutionary process. And for some reasons, we may not have followed that activity. We may have somehow stopped or interrupt that activity that was actually evolutionary. And in this present life, hypothetically, we are the main focus of our present life, the present existential program, is to restart or to reconnect with that critical retro life. What the activities and the tasks that we started there, and we had some left unfinished. We should restart and to somehow move on from the place where we stopped. So the critical retro life defines the scope of one's existential program. So that's why it's interesting, and we have I myself have this particular interest in studying critical retro life. Retro life is past life, right? It's a synonym for past life, and it is critical because it is important for our present moment.
It's a turning point, right? Turning point in the whole series.
I think that I finished the introduction and the main concept.
There is one question. We have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's from Miki.
Michaela Negurita. Hi everyone. Reference to Seriexis. How can we differentiate between real retrocognitions, healthy memories, and false memories? In both situations, I had synchronicities to validate the experience. Very important. But I think that one of the most important things to consider when we are evaluating if it was a real retrocognition or if it's a false memory is to base and to compare that memory with other aspects and other variables in our self-research. For instance, I may have had this memory that I was, sailing somewhere, but in this life I have no connection to sailing, right? It's not the only variable to consider. But if I can't find a connection between that memory and our present life and our connections in this life, so I would say that it's a less probable real retrocognition. So we have to consider these things. We have to consider the relations and stuff like that.
Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Deborah. Sorry.
Because I think 2 points it's important to add here is one, we are collecting facts and para-facts. Mm-hmm. So it's not only once that we are discover our reality or our past life's reality. So we need to collect many facts and also para-facts. Each is retrocognitions, flashes, and everything that comes in as a multidimensional communication, even though the synchronicities. And another point I'd like to highlight here is synchronicity is neutral, could happen for good or for not good reasons. So we need to understand that it's not a confirmation just because it's a synchronicity. We need to connect with other clues, other things that comes apart that what Weber was saying, because then we can start really doing self-research, that it's a long way that we need to go deeper to understand our main realities in this present life right now. So it doesn't come on a moment. We need to keep going, keep studying, and keeping collecting clues about ourselves. I don't know. Sorry, Weber. I
was going to say something similar to that. We have to collect, right, the experiences.
And maybe we could add the energetic process. When something is real, probably then the person can feel some energetic process occurring during the process, during the synchronicity. So it's another point to see if it's real or not.
For which reason, if I may add, it is very important for people to study their personal energetic signals, right? This is going to help as well, because when you have these sort of experiences, as Deborah and Mabel was saying, you may have some information that is energetic that comes with it, and you need to be able to read it. What does this energetic information tells me?
Yeah, I think there is an important tool, because if you know already some energetic, how do you say that?
Energetic signals, right? Energetic signals.
For example, when you are together with a helper. So you have an extra physical experience such as a retrocognition or a flash that comes very fast, and you have a signal together. So you probably can add a highlight on that, or take a note with all together energetic signs and what you remember, what comes together, to try to read or try to significate what it means really and deeper, right?
And also probably what comes after.
There is many layers of understanding when we are talking about synchronicity. The first layers are like, whoa, that is so incredible that came together, but we need to go deeper. That's why we call research, right?
Yeah. we have to be patient and, systematic in our study. That's right. Okay, so I guess
Adina wants to add something.
Adina?
We are not hearing Adina.
We are not hearing you.
Sorry. Before going on, I'd like to tell you that there are a lot of people listening to us, people from Romania and from abroad. There are Germany, yes, and Romania, of course, and messages in Romanian, Bună seara, and in English also, but from Germany again. So we are talking before about evolution in group. Yes, it is an important group here. Thank you.
Benoit. Very nice.
Benoit is from France.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. You may go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina.
Oops.
Oh.
Okay, we can move to the next slide. Okay, so now I hand over to Deborah.
Yeah. I don't know if my bell wants to start, but first of all, we want to put the definition of synchronicity is here, like is a definition from Valdo Vieira that is in a verbete. How should I say?
Verbete, yeah.
Here on
the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology.
Mm-hmm. Because what we are talking, coming together with this point of synchronicity, it's into a consciential paradigm. So it comes a little large way of understanding this phenomena, okay? So synchronicity is the quality of synchronous reality occurring, existing, or manifesting at the same time, simultaneously, concomitantly, homochronous, tautochronous, contemporary, interconnected, even in different places in the form of the coincidence of a particular event with another. So here is a main definition, but I'd like to go deeper on the next slide. That is another layer that we want to understand that makes together the multidimensionality and the multi-existentiality into the parasynchronicity, right? That we say parasynchronicity. So comes together with this two variables, okay? So in the ensemble of facts and parafacts, ideas, small and large events, seemingly irrelevant or highly significant, insinuating themselves to experience consciousness as effects of the connection and interrelation existing between everything in the cosmos, surpassing the principle of chronemics, time, and prosemics, space, providing an understanding of the multi-existential reality of consciousness, including interactive realities. So I think we can take out the slides right now to debate a little bit about these two definitions, because we can ask why we are here all together. We are 5 here talking and debate about these terms.
On a Sunday afternoon.
In the Sunday afternoon to the Romanian public. So everything that's a reason. So when we're talking about research, we must look in and pay attention and every sign that's around us. And in the Seriexology research, we have a way to start studying this kind of we say Seriexology view Seriexological view. It's right, Better? Seriexological view. Yeah, okay. Because it's kind of training, it's our view to look beyond the appearance. So we can relate everything that comes to our reality. So everyone that we are talking, everyone that we are working together. So the group of karmic here, it's a very mainstream of self-research, because we are all the time relating and connecting with people that probably that is not the first time we know. So everything could be, as a lato sensu, a synchronicity in Seriexology, in Seriexological research. Of course, we are putting the lens on the events that shows and comes more impact or more relevance into these realities. But with in the Seriexological self-research, the most important thing here is this view, this kind of training view of knowing, looking through everything, trying to understand and connect to our right now reality, okay?
How everything is connected, right? You go, as you say, through layers, you go deeper and deeper and try to understand. And synchronicity, as you say, is a lot more than just occasional synchronicities. I would say probably the universe is all in synchronous, right? It's in synchronicity. But it's for us to develop the capacity to understand that, to perceive that. Right?
Yes. Weber told highlight the paragenetics. So paragenetics is when you manifestate something in this body, in this soma right now, that came from another life. So why we are right now in this country with this body, looking this face, everything could be studied in the Seriexological terms. So that's okay.
No, actually, parasynchronicity, I think, is more precise to say what we are saying about synchronicity, because parasynchronicity means everything has an extra physical cause or a multidimensional cause. I think it's more precise to say parasynchronicity than just synchronicity.
Yeah,
In
it's
our paradigm, you know,
a
in
cause.
there is a
Cause,
physical or a retro cause that what's going on here now.
And it's kind of a cause and a purpose, right?
Yeah.
If we are able to read it or not, that's what we are trying to develop, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So in the next slide, I think we could go because here is a synthesis, I think. Merely identifying synchronicity adds nothing. Interaction, comparisons, and confrontations are necessary to extract useful and productive information from the occurrence, and it is a deficiency of researching consciousness to let synchronicity go unnoticed. So when we are talking about parasynchronicity, it goes much more further on this topic right here, because we
It's
are
not just observation, right?
Yeah, we need to understand, get the and get the meaning of that content that we are realized, and trying to understand all that comes together with this information. So here's a trinomial. How do I say?
Trinomial. Yeah,
Trinomial.
trinomial.
Okay. That it's very important to decode the synchronicity, because first of all, we need to look to observe. The observation is the very important way to see what's going on. But we need the second point, it's analyzed. So we need to catch the information and try to decode, to understand, to evaluate what it comes together with this information. That means we need to interpretate everything that we are trying to read or trying to understand. As I said before, the synchronicity usually makes a very huge impact because it's very impressive. Wow, how it could happen. I just think about a friend and he ring me on the phone or something like that. Or I was watching a movie about personality yesterday, and today a friend gave me a book about the same same personality that I was talking and watching a movie and everything. So it comes very on excited state of mind, but that is how we should not behave when we are interact with synchronicity. Okay, it happens, but why, right? Why it happens? Why that comes to me in this very moment right now?
We have one more question about this process of evolution.
Hello, everyone. If this is the life in which we have the highest level of evolution in our Seriexes, does it mean that we are never going to experience a low level of a involution in intraphysical life? I think there is a point here very interesting, because when we are doing nothing, or we are stuck doing no research, doing no understand, going deeper, trying to move forward, actually we are
first you are in stagnation, and then you start evolving. You're going back.
Yes, right. That's what.
If you're doing no assistance, if you are doing nothing with what you were given so far, what are we doing?
And here it's important to think about the group, right? If we are stuck in a side in the road, and the group is moving forward, if we compare ourselves to the group that we belong to, we are going backwards, right?
Yeah.
Not going forward with the group.
But it's not an evolution as we can understand literally. It's not involution. There is no involution, but you can stuck, be stuck in a situation. But it's not involution as people sometimes can understand.
Yeah.
But one point here, I think it's interesting to say also, because sometimes we manifest our weak trait more than our strong traits.
Yeah.
And usually when we are passing through the porão consciencial.
Consensual basement.
Basement, yeah.
Basement. So usually looks like we are behavior as how should I say, Mabel, help
worse than we could.
Yes, that's why
we could say you are in sub-level, right?
Sub-level, yeah, it happens, but it's not involution.
No, it's just sub-level.
Yes,
we need to move forward and resolve. Yeah.
I
recycle, evolve.
It's nice to discuss about that, because there is a point that usually looks like we are worse than you are on.
And we are worse, but we yes, and sometimes we are worse than we should be, but it's not even we could be, but it's not an evolution as we can understand now. So just to be clear with this situation.
But when
dear friends, when you finish, I just want to give us a little reminder. We are at 1 hour, so we have half an hour still to go. Okay.
Okay, but I think here is because when we are talking about self-research on seriexological path, we are maybe find some behaviors that we manifest on past lives that usually highlight some strong traits. That's why it's very important to study past life, because sometimes you recover cons or recover strong traits that
Lucidity. You recover a lot of lucidity. Yeah.
so when we come to a critical retro life, usually we find both. We find a very weak trait that we need to go further and recycle this manifestation. And we also find the strong trait that gives us the power,
The tools, the power.
tools to fight or to trying to find a way to develop the weak trait as we should to move faster on the evolutionary process. So
Very good.
that's the main point here. So I think we should go to our examples.
Examples would be very interesting. Yes.
It's very illustrative to show how we did this on our self-research. I think we could take out the slides to show, and maybe Mabel wants to start with her
Give
experience
us
about
some examples of synchronicities.
yes.
Let's talk about it.
If we have many synchronicities in life, no? I think everybody has, but we're gonna mention some retrocognitive synchronicity because it's our goal here, no?
Yeah.
So I picked up a situation that when I was 21 years old, I traveled to Europe. And one of the countries that I visited was Switzerland. And the first city I visited there was Lucerne. And I was delighted by the city, the wooden bridges, the lake, and everything. And then I walked around the city and I decided to sit in a bench just to admire the Alps. And I seated there for some, maybe half an hour, and I was a little bit shocked, euphoric, full of energies around me. I didn't know conscientiology, but I could feel everything. And those sensations maybe are still imprinted in my mind. Well, 29 years later, I decided to study or to research a personality, a German one, and he used to travel a lot around Europe. And one of the cities that he loved was Lucerne. And in one of the readings of his biography, the author mentioned that he loved to sit in a bench in Lucerne just to admire the Alps. So it was a synchronicity that caught my attention because it's very specific, very singular attitude, no? To sit in a bench and to admire the Alps. So it's something I cannot say that I was that person, of course not. But it's a kind of coincidence that called my attention because the specific situation. So that's what we are talking here, to have this kind of clues that can help us to understand our possible retro lives or our temperament, the attitudes we have now, today, and maybe we used to have in the past. So that's what we are talking about parasynchronicity or synchronicities. I think it's an example. Maybe people has a lot of one.
We have another question here. Because synchronicities are proof of an auric coupling with a consciousness, or maybe another proof of our parapsychic abilities, what makes a synchronicity meaningful?
Well, I can comment on that to start. I think that the synchronicities are evidence, not really a proof, but are evidence that we are, for instance, in an auric coupling with a consciousness, or with a process, not specifically with a consciousness.
Not specifically
But-
with the consciousness. It can be
Yeah.
with a place.
With a place, yes, we can be connected, coupled with the place and the whole of the scene of the place, and that can triggers some synchronicities as well, not only consciousnesses. But what makes synchronicity meaningful is basically what we are, what our interests in our research are, and I would like to before handing the word to our colleagues, I would like to give one example of my own one synchronicity that I experienced not long ago, actually a few weeks ago. I was working on the research of my critical retro life, and I had this hypothesis of having some experience in Japan, because of course, I'm a grandson of a Japanese couple, and I have this interest in the connection and the meeting between Portugal, especially Europe in general, but specifically Portugal and Japan in the 16th century. And I was, in these weeks where I was working on this course and working on this research, and I suddenly went out to search for a CD, a music CD. I was wanting to hear some music, and while I was kind of browsing through the discs, I found one DVD. It was a movie, and it's called Narayama's Ballad, or the Ballad of Narayama.
The Ballad of Narayama.
The Ballad of Narayama, which is one of the, in my opinion, is the most meaningful representation of the Japanese mind and the Japanese mentality, or the roots of the Japanese mentality. For me, it's very significant. So that was a synchronicity. I was not looking for that, and I actually thought that I had lost this DVD. So what I'm trying to say here is that the focus of my attention actually made that synchronicity meaningful. If I were just browsing or searching for some music to listen to, and that came up, I would just throw it aside, and that's it. But since I was in a process of research, and that made that synchronicity, because I was not looking for that movie. I thought I had lost that movie, that disc. And then it was spontaneous, so that made it meaningful for me.
And Weber, a point that we can talk here is the vocation, the relation between evocation and synchronicity, because everything happens through our tosin. The tosin is the base of the process of synchronicity. So something that you said, I was working on it, and then your holotosin is evocating this kind of thing. It's important to say that.
Yeah.
And I think one important thing to say here is we have two examples, right? One from Abel, one from Weber, and in both cases they were the meaningful, the mean of the synchronicity here is related with self-research, right? And I think that's a point that is very important, because what we do of this kind of information. So if it's a tool for our developing the evolutionary process, for example, it could help us to clarify or identify something that it's going to help us understand our microcosm, our singularities. So that's what I think it's very helpful to collect synchronicities. Look, Mabel example, it took 29 years to signify that printed information that touches her. So if she probably, if she forgot about her memory on that travel, it means nothing, right? But since she realized that memory and use it as a little tool on the collection, I think we have a question here that connects to this. So I think it's nice to make for her, Mabel.
Mabel, if you were that personality, do you, do you think you would have any other indicators to help you to define the connection, some energetic vibrations? Or yes, but I had, that's the point. I had at that time when I was 21 years old, and when I sitting on that bench and I started admiring the Alps, I felt a lot of energies. I was a kind of euphoric, and I couldn't forget that situation. That's what I said is still imprinted in my mind, all the sensations I had there. So when I read the author saying that this guy, and I don't know if I am or I was this guy, but this guy liked to see, just to admire the Alps, something was connected. And I mean, when you read it, yes, I felt, Flavia, I felt energies, and I was a little bit shocked because it's a very singular situation. And when I read, wow, but he felt the same I felt when I was 21 years old. So it's something that I am still working, researching, because I don't know the implications of this. No? I don't know.
What about you, Deborah? Give us an example of a synchronicity.
I think Mabel told us about evocation, right? When we are studying retro lives, usually it comes with, for me, for myself, it comes with a lot of synchronicities since the beginning, right? So I start in 2015 studying past lives because of an event that Consecutivos was planning to show here in Foz do Iguaçu. I used to live in Rio, but I was engaged with this event. And so I think the synchronicity started there, related, of course, with this past life research, okay?
Was that when you decided to move to Foz?
Actually, I moved like 2 months later.
Okay.
It impacted for sure my decision.
A big impact, yeah.
Yes, not the synchronicity, but the whole movement,
the whole thing.
about this past
the
life
whole package
and everything that was happening that time. Okay. So actually, as I said, was a sequence of many events. So I picked here. I'll show like the most relevant that came in the end of this many other small synchronicities. Okay. So Consecutivos organized in 2015 a mnemonic gala. It was meant to be experiment with everyone dressed up in the past character that could represent or a specific person or a period of time or a country or a complex of everything together to help actually all research to recover memory about their past lives. This kind of experiment actually it's trying to help us as a research recover our memories, and as a group it could help even deeper. Okay, so I think there is also many helpers working together in this kind of experiment, a groupal experiment. So, and every research actually trying to evoke this kind of personality or this kind of period of time, actually trying to usually evoke their own extra-physical personal group, okay? So I was very engaged and committed starting my self-research on past lives. It was my first time doing this kind of research. So I came out with a social role that is called Salonier, who is in this case was a woman in 18th century that used to bring together politicians, philosophers, writers, artists, and many other thinkers so they can debate about relevant topics. So this type of event used to be called literary circles, okay? So I came out with this scenario, this century, and this social role to start to create my clothes to go to this event, thinking about each detail I want to evoke. So I really go deeper on this kind of research. And I worked together with a costume designer. And after the gala, I had to give him back my dress because it was kind of rent. He developed for me, but after all, I need to give back my dress, okay? And a month later, I found out that my dress and even my partner's clothes were showing in an exhibition called When Rio Became a Capital. This was this event that I brought the flyer from there. It was in a museum in Rio de Janeiro. So far, I was very excited and intrigued what my clothes were doing there. And then I decided to go there to check it out with my own eyes. And I have like the biggest synchronicity related to the subject here, because my dress was in the front of a wall with a text where people could read about literary circles in Brazil and the relations between Europe and Brazil and how they were connected. I read it yesterday to remember what was written there. And that moment I was very impacted because I was evoking and I was decide to evoke this kind of social role that was related with literary circle. And I had no idea that my dress was going to be in a museum, in an exhibition, and it was very near to, in front of a wall that was saying everything that was related to this Holocene. But for me, the kind of synchronicity work as kind of a confirmation that I was writing, that I was right, picking up this social role in this specific lifetime. Of course, it did not end. Usually the synchronicity is not a stamp that confirm everything, but it's a new start, a new development, a new layer of the self-research. So I still, of course, that happened in 2015. After that, I wrote 2 articles for a periodic here in Brazil, and I'm still working through this subject, but it helped me find many traits and be lucid about my weak traits and strong traits, and also understand that I probably have connection with diplomacy and many different kind of people that usually are not together, but I can talk with many different people. So it's very it's very nice to understand, and I think we actually add the answer of meaning of the synchronicity, right?
Yeah. We have.
Don't we have a photo?
I do. It's on the slide. If
You could eventually show. Friends, we have time for one more question here, and then there's something we would like to announce.
So the way we, please.
No, go ahead.
Okay, the way we interpret some synchronicity could be considered subjective because they usually are meaningful or not only for ourselves.
Yes, we can say that synchronicities are subjective. Actually, self-research is very subjective, but we try to anchor or to compare the synchronicities and the interpretations that we may have of the synchronicities with, facts, right? I like to think of this concept of the cosmoethical, optimistic, skeptical. Meaning that we have to be skeptical, with the things that happen to us, especially in parapsychic ways. But at the same time, we have to be optimistic regarding the meaning of those events, of those experiences that we have. But it's mainly subjective, and it may have meaning. It may be meaningful for people related to us, but the meaning is more important to ourselves.
One point I like to add here, it's one thing that helps us turning the subjective theme, okay, as such as synchronicity, is starting writing down and collecting the facts and the synchronicity and relate everything together. Because with the whole pack of information, we could go study as a science, right? We are talking about new science that is studying a very subjective, that is our own information. So synchronicity must be collected and shown as a scientific. So that's why it's very important to write it down. Next, in the following week, we are going to have a Seriexorama, that is an event in consecutivos that shows all the self-research from many researchers that developed a paper to the periodic. In that paper, we had 3 different articles that are related with self-research on seriexological, on past lives, and synchronicity. So as many writing we have, as much we can understand and help everybody understand and help everybody work with this kind of subjective material that is synchronicity, right? So it's very important to have, as researchers, as scientific researchers, this relevant importance, such as writing our experiments. So,
thank you for reminding us of that, the writing part.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other last minute thing that you would like to say? Because we are about to finish. I mean, in time, we need to come to a close.
yeah, I think Regina
Just-
put the image, I think it's nice to
It's
tell.
Very nice one. Yes.
Because there you can check the image from us. For me, in the event, that gala event, and the same dress in the museum. And the wall is written in Portuguese and also in English down there. So you can check it out, the information. So it was very unique, this kind of synchronicity. So I think it's nice to collect it. And I actually wrote about this. So I think it's
Very
nice,
good.
everyone that have this kind of experience, write it down.
Please write it down, everything. And we will make your slides available for everyone that was present and future people that may wish to contact and check out the information, right?
And
Thank
we'll
you so
have
much.
them also translated into Romanian.
Of course, we
Yes.
will. Yes. Okay. It's so nice that to have you guys here. It was such a nice exchange. We are very, very grateful that you were able to come, to accept the invitation, to share with us. It was really great. Um, okay, if we can say our last goodbyes, then I want to introduce just one little thing. We are going to have the fourth, it's already the fourth International Week, really soon. So it starts on the 28th of July this time. It starts a bit earlier than usual. We generally do it in August, but this time it's starting on the 28th of July, and it's going until the 6th of August, because actually we call it a week, but it's a few more days, right? And we would like to show you a little film, but let's hear it from our guests. Last words and a goodbye.
I was very happy to be here to share our experience with you. If you have any question, please contact us. I think it's very nice to have this exchange of experience, right? And I'll be there on Isaac event in
We do near school. We have a workshop. Yes, a writing workshop talking about writing.
Yes, we have a
With Mabel as well.
debate. We have a debate in Circulo as well.
Yes.
So we are all invited to join us.
We have events from Consecutivos as well. So, you know, you are all invited.
Yes.
There are many events
And I would
put
like
together.
to thank the opportunity to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Lili and Nadina.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to all of you. And well, unfortunately, time is always short for for this thing that we need to clarify. And well, the last but not the least, I would like to invite all of you to participate in the Romanian event that will take place between 6th and 10th of October. And well, it will be a very special event for us here. We will have a book launch. We will have parapsychic dynamic and field course. And yeah, we are waiting for you. Everybody is welcome. And anytime you are welcome to Romania.
Very good. So thank you for, it was really nice to be together. Thank you to all of you. And we will finish with the video for the International Week, where we show a little bit of every activity planned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you.
Thank you, guys.